We're going through these cities and you can see the poverty going from Jackson to Indianola, going up the Delta, and you're passing all these wide open fields, most of them used for cotton farming, driving past the places where blues originated, and we were listening to blues music on the way up. The old blues music focused on the hardships that African Americans faced, the hatred and the racism and the bigotry that African Americans had to endure. People getting sprayed with water cannons, people getting bitten by dogs, people getting chased and beaten on Bloody Sunday. On the Edmund Pettus Bridge, I know a lot of times I just kind of find myself shaking my head, not understanding why people thought this was okay or how they let it happen. And especially with it being Thanksgiving, this trip has been very eye-opening and it was kind of emotional.
We were in Jackson, Mississippi yesterday, and while we were looking at the neighborhood that was run down, we walked around the corner. I looked across the street and I saw a sign right next to that, and it said upcoming lofts and everything. Mm-hmm. So it kind of led me to believe that these areas are run down, but that's because of possible gentrification and just going to probably completely eliminate those areas and redo them for I guess more modern use.
We've sort of been looking at this specific narrative in our poli-sci class where all of these events happened, all of these social movement organizations were working to fight segregation and discrimination. So you would almost expect an immersion trip, you're going to the places that these things happened, but yet we're seeing very rundown areas. Even some of the historical markers themselves have been run down in some places. The Civil Rights Movement is not over. These events, sure they happened, sure we got the Civil Rights Act of 64 and the Voting Rights Act of 65 and those sorts of things, but it just goes to show that there's still a lot of inequality in our country.
Growing up, I mean, you think of blues, at least I did, I thought of blues as just another genre, like a sad kind of music. And where we saw today, it can be sad, but it just shows so much emotion throughout the music, especially during that time. It seemed like it was a way for the African Americans to express themselves, and it helped them to overcome some of the oppression. With B.B. King, you could tell that he had this lively spirit about him, which was very impactful, I feel like, just for himself and then audiences wherever he would go. I saw a video in the museum that B.B. King walking out to an all-white crowd. He said he had never performed for an all-white crowd, and they gave him a standing ovation. This was before he even performed, but they were giving him a standing ovation. So I feel like that, just from that small time period from 1965 to around the 70s, it was cool to see how much of an impact that the Civil Rights Movement had on society.
One thing that I've been thinking about, and it was sort of my favorite spot of the B.B. King Museum, was the section where it showed all the different musicians that he worked with. Rolling Stones, Grateful Dead, Led Zeppelin, Eric Clapton. All of these people admired the blues so much, and then they adopted those songs and those styles into their own music. I really see it as they were doing their own part for the Civil Rights Movement. Even if you're just a musician, these people were still making some big impacts too.
While we were in Club Ebony, when the live musician came in, even before when the DJ was just playing certain blues songs, I felt it kind of hard to not get up and dance. Or,
that guitarist,
along with it, yeah.
That guitarist, man, he was playing that guitar so hard.
Yeah.
I was talking to the guy who was sort of running the sound booth, and we were both looking at each other. His guitar was very out of tone because he had been just playing it so hard.
We broke a string.
And then, at the end, you could see strings hanging down from the guitar. So it's just there's a lot of emotion that goes into playing the blues.
I thought it was awesome that he was late, but he got there, and then it's just like he just hopped up and started playing. Like it didn't matter. I don't think he practiced at all. Probably beforehand, but like he was ready to go. I think it just comes mostly from the heart. So I don't think it really matters really how it sounds. Like we've talked about how in music there's like voice cracks and things here and there. So I think he didn't really mind if he had a voice crack or a mistake because it's how he was feeling. That's how it was coming out. So
it's more genuine and real than a lot of the music that we hear on the radio today. Like Justin said, he hopped up and he started playing. He broke a string. It didn't matter. He rolled with it. But if it were like a pop star or something, it would take hours to set everything up.
And then they wouldn't even be playing an
Yeah,
instrument.
if something went wrong, there would be tons of people trying to fix it, but he just rolled with it.
I personally don't have that much of a connection with blues music before today, and I think that coming into the museum with a pretty open mindset on what blues music is, it was really inspiring to me.
It can be lively, it can be sad, it can be anything you want it to be, and I think that's, I don't know, it's completely unique, which is awesome.
I think that's a testament to the power of music and the role that it played in the Civil Rights movement.